So, hello, everybody. It is me, Demetra K, and I am sitting here with Donovan, the recovering Democrat Saadiq, and it is the Demetra K podcast. I want to say at the top of the hour that it is not live; it is recorded because I sometimes watch it. Forgive me if it seems like I'm freezing up, but it'll catch up. I don't know what it's doing, but anyway, sometimes I watch and the people think that it's live, but it's not. But we do, pop into the comments section. So, just wanted you to know that. The purpose of the Demetra K Show is to promote Black love, knowledge, and understanding of all things that go on in the Black community to make us an even better people, with the emphasis on even, because we are great people, but we can always strive to do better. And so it is the new year. We are kicking it off. I want to say strong, I would guess. And I said on Sunday that I am going to do a poll of the things that you guys want to see us do on the Demetra K Show. So I'm going to put that up probably tomorrow morning. And I will be looking at the suggestions, and I will implement said suggestions. So today we're going to talk about two unfortunate incidents. One of the Buffalo Bills situation where Damar Hamlin, 24-year-old, that had a cardiac arrest during the game on Monday Night Football. We're also going to talk about that of the late rapper Gangsta Boo, also known as Lola Mitchell of 3-6 Mafia fame. She has also passed away due to suspected alleged drug use. So we're going to talk about those things. Also, we're going to talk about a question in regards to relationship that somebody asked me. And so Donovan and I are going to ponder that. So put on your seatbelt. As you guys know, on this podcast, sometimes it does get very heated because I have to, tighten it up on Donovan, eat his lunch every once in a while. So Donovan, what say you?
All right, you guys, welcome. It is a new year. Happy New Year. I am glad to have made it this far. So far, so good. Hope you guys enjoy the holidays and, everything that's going to come. Your kids had to have a Merry Christmas. I hope you're ready to pay for it right now. So do us a favor. Please hit that like and subscribe button, even become a member. Where Demetra drops all kinds of videos that might have something that might be piquing your interest. And, it does take time to make a podcast and a video cast and all that other stuff. So if you look at our scroll at the bottom, and we take all forms of payment. We don't mind the kind that rolls, but we do prefer the kind that folds. But it's going to be a new year. And you guys, let's be positive in the new year, because there's so much darkness that prevails within our community that we just jump from tragedy to tragedy. And Demetra and I were talking about this before the show. We usually banter before the show. And, we got a lot of stuff coming down the pipe. I ask myself all the time, where are those naysayers that were talking about, you ain't never going to get no reparations. That ain't never going to happen. Now we're getting, the ball is starting to roll with that. So those people that keep the naysayers and the negativity, which is my point, these naysayers and negativity, don't listen to the naysayers and negativity. You do what you need to do. You keep their foot on their necks. And guess what? Reparations is now a serious topic because we never gave up asking for it. So Demetra, let's go into the subject.
Absolutely, brother. All right, so we're going to get started with the first topic, and that is of 24-year-old Damar, I hope I'm saying his right, Hamlin of the Buffalo Bills. Last night during Monday Night Football, he ended up going into what they say cardiac arrest and needed a CPR due to taking a hit on the field from one of the Cincinnati Bengals teammates, if you will. Now, there is a video trending. However, I am not going to show that video because a lot of people were disturbed by watching that video. And I want to be respectful to his family. So I don't know if they would watch this. They might. But I want to be respectful to his family because I would not want to continue seeing my loved one put in a bad situation physically. So I choose not to. And by now, I'm sure you all have seen it. So we are just going to put up his picture so you can see he's a young guy. So as I said, he took a helmet, it looks like, to the chest. And it was almost like, and now when I say perfect, I don't mean like perfect and like good. It was like a perfect hit in that it hit him in the right spot that caused him a heart attack, because that's essentially what cardiac arrest is, when your heart stops, right? Arrest means stop. So he is now in the ICU. Critical condition. It is said that it took an hour for a call to be made that the game would not continue, although the head coaches of both teams had already decided that their players would not continue to play. But it took Roger Goodell and the owners, I guess you could say, an hour. So the fans were in the stands for about an hour waiting to see if the game would continue. But again, the head coaches said, no, we are not going to send our players on the field because obviously that would be a very traumatic thing to have to do after watching someone, potentially or nearly lose their life. So a lot of people are pushing back on Roger Goodell and them for taking so long. So as of now, the game is suspended and it is indefinitely suspended. It will not continue this week from what the commissioner has said. And so it is also said that his organization, his nonprofit, is for children. And from last night until today, it has raised about $4.4 million. And I think when it first started, it was into maybe the 20,000s. Don't quote me, but $20,000 is what it raised. So it has raised over $4 million to this point. But I want to read a statement from Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL National Football League. And it says, during last night's game between the Buffalo Bills and Cincinnati Bengals, Bills safety Damar Hamlin collapsed on the field. Damar experienced cardiac arrest and was promptly resuscitated by on-site club physicians and independent medical personnel, all of whom are highly trained in implementing the plans for medical emergencies. Damar was stabilized and transported to the University of Cincinnati's Medical Center, Level 1 Trauma Center, where he remains in the ICU. After speaking with both teams and the NFLPA leadership, I decided to postpone last night's game and have our focus remain on Damar and his family. We are in regular contact with both clubs and with medical team caring for Damar, and we'll share additional information as we receive it. So again, as I said, that kind of came with, I guess, after a little pushback of, why did it take y'all so long to even make the decision? You have the fans there in traumatized and a lot of them in horror at what they've seen for an hour before you said, okay, for now the game is over. So of course, there's been a lot of conversation about the game of football and how dangerous it actually is. Of course, we know that the term CTE, and don't ask me, I know it's a long name after that, but CTE basically where there's a lot of head trauma. Maybe it doesn't come right away, but it comes later on. CTE was a hotly contested issue, and I guess still is in the NFL because players were seeking compensation, saying, hey, this catches up to us, once we're older or we're done playing and things like that. Of course, we know that there has been some tragedies while playing football. We know football is in and of itself a very violent sport, even though, we see a lot of the highlights of the games and, the catches and the touchdowns and things like that. But within that, it is a violent game where men predominantly use their bodies, to catch the ball, run the ball, and a whole lot of things. And so a lot of people are saying, well, should the sport of football, especially to that degree, be canceled altogether? I know former President Barack Obama said that, and this was during the issue of CTE, he says that if I had a son, I would not allow him to play football because it is very dangerous. I have a younger brother who has a son who is very athletically inclined. He says, I will not allow my son to play football because it is very dangerous. And so we want to have that conversation. Should football be canceled and everything else in between? So Donovan, what say you about that?
Yeah, very tragic incident, but that's what comes with the job. Now, everybody's like, oh, would it take them so long to make the decision, whatever. People got to, realize that thing happened at the spur of the moment. So it never happened before in that context. So it's going to take some time for these guys to say, okay, they've got to process what's going on. That's why when I see people immediately react to something, it's kind of like when you're getting on those flights and it's like your plane was canceled, right? The customer's like, oh, I got to get home. I got to do this. But you're not understanding what is going on. Maybe at the home base where your connecting flight was canceled to where this leg is canceled. There's a lot more that goes into it. So I'm not saying things were done wrong, but these snap judge decisions, every situation is different in how you would do it. So for people to expect this guy to make a decision overnight, I mean, we've had people get graphically hurt in football. Remember when Joe Theismann got his leg snapped by Lawrence Taylor? That had nothing of that severity ever happened. And it happened on national TV. The game was stopped for, I don't know, 30 something minutes, whatever it was. And then I guess they resumed play, whatever. So, golly, people, give these guys some mercy. They're human beings. They've got to process what it is. How severe is this injury? What is going on? Do you see what I'm saying? And a lot of people were asking me, well, man, did you see the hit, whatever the deal is? And a lot of people don't know this. Your heart is not protected by, like steel and, big drum stuff. So when you get hit in that chest, there is a great chance an arrhythmic stoppage is going to happen. And if you guys watch the video, notice he tackled the guy and then jumped up, right? You want to know why that is? The oxygen had not left his brain yet. And that's why he fell back down, because it takes the brain a couple minutes to process, what had happened to him. And thank God there was medical professionals there to assist him as quickly as possible and doing whatever they need to do. Should football be canceled? Absolutely not. And I'm going to tell you why football should not be canceled. For a lot of impoverished people, it is the only way. Athleticism is our only way out of poverty, since they don't want to give us our reparations and what we need to do for ourselves. Everybody knows, and they've known it for 30 or 20 years. You've got two bodies like atoms crashing against each other in this sport. Since it was incepted, everybody knew that, right? These guys are using their bodies like projectiles. So we know it's a dangerous sport. But guess what? To escape poverty, there's a lot of people out there willing to take that chance. You got a lot of people that are in poverty that will sell drugs and, join gangs just to better their situation or get money or to eat or whatever they're doing. I'm not like trying to excuse it, but what I'm saying is this talk about canceling football, it's not going to happen. As long as there's money to be made, it's not going to happen. Deshaun Watson just got a guaranteed $245 million contract. Guaranteed. Football is not going anywhere.
So yeah, that is the issue. And I want to come back to the whole, the poverty thing. But Skip Bayless, that sits on, I guess that's the name of the show, was Undisputed with Shannon Sharp. He has come under a lot of fire, and a lot of people are asking for him to be canceled, kicked off of television because of a tweet that he made, and it said this: "No doubt the NFL is considering postponing the rest of the game, but how? This late in the season, a game of this magnitude is crucial to the regular season outcome, which suddenly seems so irrelevant." And so people took issue with it, saying how insensitive of Skip to tweet that, basically putting the football game above human life. And so many are saying he needs to be canceled. In fact, he did come on the air today and he gave some sort of a mea culpa, saying that he did initially say prayers for him and this, that, and the other. He said that he just tweets and he doesn't normally read the conversation behind the tweets, but he said that his managers and stuff was like, yo, there's a lot of conversation going on around your tweet. In fact, they're asking you to be canceled. And so he kind of tried to explain what it is that was going on. And to me, as I was listening to him, I was like, I don't know, because they said that Shannon was not on the show. And a lot of people even were more mad the fact that Skip came on the air. They think that those at Fox Sports, because that's where he's at, should have said that Skip should not be on air after being so reckless in his tweet. And in fact, I've seen tweets from JJ Watt, and he said basically, and I'm paraphrasing, screw football, human life is more important. Dak Prescott basically said that Skip Bayless needs to be canceled. Now it sounds like Skip has also been very harsh on that of Dak. So there's been a lot of other NFL players saying that Skip needs to be canceled. Now, I want to get back to the poverty aspect of football. Yes, that is a huge factor. We know that 70% of the NFL players are Black. Not all of them come from an impoverished background, but a lot of them do. So there goes into the narrative what the minister said, Farrakhan, in that they become highly paid slaves because they do get these big giant contracts to in essence, ravish their bodies. So they're not going to turn down this money. In a lot of cases, and Shannon Sharpe has been very instrumental about him and his brother, both very decorated in the NFL. Shannon Sharpe says, talks about it all the time, how them being raised with their grandmother, they were very impoverished. And one of the main motivating factors for him was to take care of his grandmother because they didn't have much and she sacrificed a lot. And so Shannon Sharpe's story is not rare in that, yes, I know that there are a lot of risks behind me playing football. I could get CTE, and in a worst case scenario, I could die, but the money is too lucrative. And so, again, that backs up what Farrakhan said about the highly paid slaves, because they cannot walk away from that money, because in a lot of cases, they are not just taking care of themselves with nice cars and things like that. They're taking care of their whole family and sometimes a whole generation. And so that, rests on their back. Oftentimes we hear football players, not disregard regarding fathers, because we know that fathers are often involved with the NFL players. But a lot of times we hear players say, oh, my mother, she worked 2 and 3 jobs just to get me here, and so my all belongs to her. So we hear that kind of stuff a lot. So there's a lot going on with those players feeling like they have to play. Now, the other side of that, before I finish, is with these lucrative contracts, there's the other side, which is kind of how it becomes violent, because we know a lot of players, they do these horrible sacks, which it is, from what I understand, some of these sacks are compatible to that of a car accident, a car, impacting somebody. Sometimes the hits are that hard. So we know a lot of the players are looking for the highlight, and, the owners are watching, and it's like a gladiator sport. The owners are watching. And so these players know that if I want to stay on the first string, I need to perform well. And sometimes that is sacking the crap out of another player or whatever. So there's a lot going on. So should football be canceled? And with all that I just said, in my opinion, yes, I think that it should. However, I don't think that is dealing in reality. It won't be, because this is $1 billion sport. And some may even say maybe trillion. So.
Exactly. Right there. You hit it right on the nail. You got $6 billion stadiums funded by taxpayers to bring in part-time seasonal jobs. Owners are making all kinds of money, big contracts, TV contracts. You've got a whole plethora of stuff going on. Money's to be made. That's the bottom line. Nobody cares, because guess what? For every, I don't mean to say this is being disrespectful, for the players that do get injured, there's somebody to replace them in that position. You better believe it. As great as Tom Brady is, there's going to be somebody that's going to replace him when he moves on to the next thing. And that's just business. That's how we do business. But going back to Skip Bayless, he tweeted something out. See, and this is what I mean about us, especially us Black people, being emotional people. Demetra, when Twitter come out, I remember when people used to tweet going to the bathroom, walking through the hall, whatever the deal is. And I'm not making excuses for Skip Bayless, but I don't think he needs to be canceled, whatever. At the time that he witnessed what he witnessed, watching the game, he didn't know the extent of the injury or what was going on. So he was tweeting basically, without all the information, just like the NFL players, like, should we keep the game going? Should we stop? You have to get all the information. He didn't have all the information, but there's no crime in him tweeting at the time what his thoughts were. I agree. Do you, at the time of the injury, during the play stop, do we stop the game at the end of the season with you guys remember this game was pivotal to positions of how other divisional teams were going to match up and stuff, who wins the division, who doesn't. Did the NFL make the right decision by canceling the game? Yes. Was Skip Bayless wrong at the time that he tweeted for what he tweeted? I don't think he was wrong. He was going with the information that he had. We've seen horrific injuries in football. That was nothing new. To the extent of what this man was hit, we don't know. Because you think about it. You're a layman. You're watching football. This guy just tackled somebody. He had just tackled somebody. So if you're looking at it in real time, you're like, oh, okay, what's the big deal? Then he jumps up. So your brain isn't processing, is it a really bad injury? He just jumped up. But once you got all the information, he said, oh, yeah, he got hit. And the replay started showing you, oh, he got hit right there in the heart. Then it made sense. So at the time Skip Bayless and crucify a person who takes a app that basically tells you everything you're doing at that precise second in that moment and just want to crucify the man and throw him under the bus and all this other stuff. I mean, did he misspeak or was it insensitive? I don't know, because like I said, at that point in time that he sent that tweet, what information was he going off of? But here we are, super emotional. Oh, he's got to be canceled. Everybody has to be canceled. Where is that energy for our congressional Black caucus members? Where, you know what I mean? I don't want to get into political, but what I'm saying is you have all this energy for all this other stuff, but the stuff that is important to us, we have no energy. Oh, let them stay there. It's okay. Even though they're screwing us over, they're not fighting for reparations. They're not doing, yeah, you know, hey, that's no big deal. But here's an athlete, and thank God, the NFL has the medical thing. They've come a long way from when the NFL first started. Because you got to remember, back in the 60s and 50s, these guys worked a regular job. There was no medical training and facilities and things of that nature out there. So, you know, we've never seen any injury like this before. It was kind of weird looking at it, but we've seen, you know, it's a learning curve as we go day in, day out. So I don't think Skip Bayless should be canceled. He was tweeting at the moment of what he saw. Hey, now that he's got the information, I'm sure that he has a different opinion on it.
Well, because I do have a major in a BA in communication, and it does cover a lot of journalism. Skip is a journalist, and there is no way in hell he should be tweeting anything without all of the information. So canceled. I think people are kind of throwing the cancel word on Skip because he has been reckless with his mouth a lot, you know, in the past, and just different things. It sounded like he was problematic when he was at ESPN. Sounds like maybe that's why he's not there. So it's not like this is Skip's first time at the rodeo being reckless with his mouth or reckless with his tweets, but him being a journalist, and he is a journalist, he knows better not to tweet without all of the information or put out any half-baked ideas. And so when you say that we should not be emotional, people would not be emotional if Skip was not emotional in his tweeting and to assert that basically this is too important of a game for us to cancel. That says that he was being emotional. And in the world of journalism, they call that yellow journalism, when you tweet out of emotion. And when you tweet out of emotion, you tweet without the facts. So what you said, I believe he did not have all the information, which is why he is in hot water. He needed to sit back and wait like everybody else did to see what was going on, which is why now he has his behind in hot water. Now, back to Black people being emotional and getting mad about him being canceled. It wasn't just Black people that said he needed to be canceled. I just told you J.J. Watt and a whole bunch of other people said that Skip was wrong and we should put human life over the game. And so it's not just Black people who are saying, that's everybody. I would say most people who are football fans and who watch the game or at least watch the replay and all of the chatter around it said, well, yes, Skip was out of line. So we're going to call his journalistic skills to the carpet. Then, yeah, he needs all of the information before he bumps his thumbs on Twitter. Now, I would say this. There's been a lot of Black newscasters or sportscasters, if you will, that have been canceled for a lot less, that have lost their jobs for a lot less. And so, as I said, a lot of people were appalled that Skip was even allowed to come on air after he tweeted what people are saying is very insensitive. So I don't know. I'm not willing to give Skip a pass now. I will say this. I don't think that Skip was intentionally being insensitive, but because he tweeted without thinking and without having the information, it was insensitive. So, you know, he should know better.
Right. I agree with you. But like I said, at the time that he tweeted, he sees a player that was injured. Looking at it from the outside, it doesn't look like it's a catastrophic injury. Like I said, the Joe Theismann one was way more catastrophic visually than what we saw last night. So, I'm not giving them pass or whatever the deal is, but we got to really like look at it. Is to me, you're more of a journalist PR type person. I don't consider tweeting journalism. I just don't. I just think it's just an app.
They actually call Twitter the social consciousness of the world, because it has become a source of a very, I guess, not only reliable, but a very dependable, or where people go for information. So I think a lot of people would argue with you on that.
Yeah, well, like I said, I don't consider that journalism when it's Twitter and you got OnlyFans models on there and stuff. I just don't consider that. It's just, again, I'm sitting on the toilet, I'm in the kitchen, I'm over here, I'm over there. No, but I know where you're going with it. I just don't consider that. But again, why are we surprised? What world are we living in? Who controls all of the media? Who controls the majority of the NFL teams? I mean, we look at this stuff, and I don't know if it's because some people go to HBCUs where they're indoctrinated in this world of everything is black, black, black. And I've never been to HBCU, but my son has. And it's not the real world. The real world we live in, when you graduate college, I can't even name you a black corporation in America. And I'm pretty much out there well-read. The real world is what it is. I'm not surprised Skip Bayless went to work the next day. I'm not surprised at that. Fox News, come on now. Let's be real.
So I don't think it's that anybody is surprised necessarily, but it does show the double standards of how he is being able to behave. And it sounds like he left ESPN after being a problem, and Fox News did bring him on. So yeah, we know Fox News is typically that of white supremacist viewpoints and narratives and things like that. But as far as Skip, I think he was out of line, and you can't call yourself a true journalist if you are tweeting like you don't have some journalistic education. So he should know better, and him not having all the information should have been a reason why he waited like everybody else to see. And Skip talks about all the time how he has all these connections with owners and players and things like that. So to me, it seems like he would have had some sort of a direct plug to somebody who was knowledgeable about what was going on. And so he tweeted out of emotions. Let's just keep it real. He did, in that tweet, put the game above the human. But as you said, they're humans. To me, they're no better than a box or a product, because they can be replaced. And I do liken NFL games to that of gladiator games, and that's because see what Skip wanted to happen, and probably some other people, and maybe why it took the owner so long to come to a decision, because like in the gladiator arena, I think they wanted to, metaphorically speaking, drag him off the field, put somebody else in there, and continue the game. It's like when during the gladiator days, it was like, that means finish him. We next brings a fresh body in. So that's kind of what I see. But yeah, as Skip doesn't get a pass. And so closing this segment out, I'd like to say, speedy recovery to that young man, Damar Hamlin. It sounds like he is in very serious condition. What I heard earlier, his family and the doctors were going to try to see at some point in time if they can see if he would breathe on his own. So that, I don't want to speculate, I'm not a doctor, but that does sound very serious. So we are, sending prayers and speedy recovery to him. It's a horrible situation being at the age of 24. All right, so now we are going to transition to that of, and let me get my photo up here so I want y'all to see who she is, or was, I should say. Here we go. All right, so the picture we are looking at is that of the now late rapper Gangsta Boo, also known as Lola Mitchell. She was 43 years old. She was of the 3-6 Mafia rap group out of Memphis, Tennessee fame. Sounds like that's where she started and where she became most notable, although she did have solo projects of her own. So it was discovered that on January 1st, and actually I was doing this show when people in the comment section were saying that she had passed away. Some people said that she was shot. But then it kind of, and this is allegations because there's no, autopsy report or anything like that to substantiate what really happened to her. But allegedly, it sounds like it was a drug overdose. They said that she indulged in pills, and some are speculating that it is fentanyl. Of course, we've heard fentanyl be the culprit in a lot of notable deaths within the last couple of years. I have heard reports that she was found outside of her mother's house. And it's also said that the night before, her and her brother attended a concert, and he also had overdosed, but they took him to the hospital, and he did survive. Now, also, she was on a show called Marriage Boot Camp, where it sounds like she was kicked off because they did find drugs on her in her person somewhere, although she denied that they were hers. But it sounds like people who know her and knew her said that she did struggle with drugs, and most notably pills. And so there's been a lot of outpouring of sentiments and condolences and things like that due to her passing. She was also known as the Queen of Memphis. And they said that she was very prolific with her lyrics. Now, I will be honest with you. I did not listen to Gangsta Boo, although I know 3 6 Mafia and did listen to some of their music. Of course, we know that 3 6 Mafia, although she was not included in that, did win an Oscar for Hustle and Flow. They did part of the soundtrack, and they won an Oscar for that song, I guess featuring that of Terrence Howard. So she was known as the Queen of Memphis. And another notable death that came up out of Memphis wasn't due to pills, is that of young Dolph, who was murdered last year. And there was another rapper, and forgive me of his name, but it sounded like he also overdosed. That was maybe a month ago at this point, from Memphis. And so we want to have a conversation about what is going on here. What is going on here with this fentanyl, people taking it, and all of that. So Donovan, what say you?
Well, I got a really, really good opinion on this. Now, you know how I am about drugs and all this other stuff. It's just funny how ain't nothing wrong with a little weed, but it seems to me I know a whole plethora of people that lost their jobs over weed. They lost their driving privileges over weed, relationships over weed, and and then they graduated to other drugs to get the same high and all this other stuff, right? So when people say that, I kind of shake my head like, no, maybe there's nothing wrong with the weed as it is as a plant. But when you incorporate that into your daily life to where it becomes a problem where I'm going to lose my ability to work or feed myself and to do all these things, I think that becomes a problem. As we all know, she's from Memphis, and another person that's from Memphis is Glorilla. And I heard that they had collaborated on something a while back. But have we started raising a nation of followers? Where are the people that are just like, hey, look, I don't have to use drugs to have a good time? How depressed are you to where you need a substance to come into your life to put you on a level to where you feel good about yourself? I think it's a sad, sad day, because when I look at the younger people, and not all of them, because I'm not an all or nothing type person, I see more followers than I see actual renegades and leaders. Everybody wants to wear Jordans. Everybody wants to do this. All the girls want to wear bat wings on their eyelids. They have the same hairstyle. There's nobody original anymore. And now here we are with this drug culture. Ain't nothing wrong. They show it on the TV. Medicinal drugs is now illegal, and there's nothing wrong with it, and you could do it, for your purposes of whatever. Doesn't anybody see that there's a reason why all this stuff is being allowed? It's to me, it's incredible how our young, this woman was only 43 years old when she died. 43. And now she's gone, and she's never coming back here ever again. Over what? She was a rapper. I guess that was her lifelong dream, because my understanding is she was considered a poet. She's been rapping ever since she was little, and her backstory and all this other stuff. That's what she wanted to do. How do you get to where you wanted to be in life and you're still unhappy? If that's the case, I just don't get it. Ain't nothing wrong with the little weed. Now, you guys know that I fly airplanes and flew airplanes in the military and all that other stuff. Why is it that if weed is not such a big deal, why is it that as a pilot, nobody wants me to smoke it? But it's okay for you to drive in your car with it, or, be at the park with your kids with it and do all this other stuff. But me as a pilot, it's not okay for me to smoke it. It's kind of crazy. Again, this is another tragedy in the entertainment industry. This is something that I think is not unusual in the entertainment industry. We lost some great ones. David Ruffin. We've lost Janis Joplin. We've lost all kinds of people to unorthodox overdosing, Michael Jackson, so on, so forth. But the point is, we have raised a culture of a bunch of followers. I have yet to see somebody who's just original. There's nothing original about it. I'm going to do fentanyl because you're doing fentanyl. Show me a movie where the person did drugs and everything turned out fantastic. They don't even do that shit in Hollywood because it's tragic when you do drugs.
So I just want to address some things you said. You said followers. Everybody's a follower. And it seems like there's more followers now. I think peer pressure has always been a thing. I mean, even if you believe in the Bible, that of Eve, she suffered peer pressure by that serpent, right? It was peer pressure. So I think peer pressure has always been an
Wait, was that serpent her peer, or was that, would you consider that? Because I wouldn't consider the Satan her peer, but that's me. But go ahead.
Well, when you look at the context of the Bible, see, a lot of times we have to be able to discern certain scriptures and passages. And I mean, let's just do some deductive reasoning here. Do you think that Eve would have taken advice from him if she didn't think he was friendly or somewhat of, in her best interest?
Well, did not God tell her you could eat of any tree on here except this one? So she was being disobedient.
That's not the question I asked, though. That ain't the question I asked.
Well, anybody would do that if you perceive that somebody is nice to you. She had no reason to not think so. But the point is, she had the information not to eat of that tree.
But that ain't the question, though. The question was, do you think she would have taken advice from the serpent, from what that's metaphorically what they said it was, the devil, a serpent. Do you think she would have taken that advice from somebody who was deemed an enemy? Whether she was eating dookie off the tree, whatever.
I don't know. All I know is if God told me to not eat off this tree, I'm not eating off the tree.
That ain't got nothing to do with God, the question I asked.
I know. Like I said, I answered the question. I said, I don't know. I answered your question.
Right. So I'm going to say, along with what I was saying, that yes. So even from the beginning of time, that people have buckled from peer pressure. So I don't think being a follower is new. Now, however, this whole drug culture that you brought up, yes, the drug culture, like you said, you went all the way back to Janis Joplin, of course. So we know drugs have been around for a very long time. In fact, drugs used to be legal. Speaking of cocaine, opium, those things were legal. In fact, Sigmund Freud was a big time cocaine head, but they ruled drugs to be illegal when the Chinamen, because that was the opium was their kind of drug of choice back in the day, and cocaine. Everybody did it, and white people, I should say white men specifically, thought that those drugs made Black men and Chinese men want white women more. So that is really why said drugs became illegal. It's just the truth. Look it up if you don't believe me. So the drug culture has been here for a very long time, even back in ancient times, right? However, the issue I think is the trust issue. Because I hear, and I want to just say up front, I have no firsthand knowledge of drugs and that I have done them. I've never done drugs, never smoked weed, any of that kind of stuff that was not prescribed to me by a doctor. So I don't want to come off as I know what I'm talking about. The knowledge that I'm trying to give is stuff that I have studied. So the problem with drugs now, I would say, is because I've heard a lot of people who did drugs back in the day, and let's say like marijuana, they would say it was a term, homegrown, right? Yeah, it was something that was pure. It was something you grew in. It didn't have all the purple and the kush and the this and the that I know of, right? Again, I'm speaking from what I understand, not personal knowledge. And so I've heard people say, well, drugs aren't what they used to be. Marijuana is not what it used to be. It's laced with everything, this, that, and the other. Sherm, I personally know somebody who thought that he was smoking a joint, and he ended up smoking a joint that was laced with sherm, I guess, and it messed him up cognitively to where he was not the same, right? So he thought he was just smoking something regular, and it was laced. So that is kind of what I understand is going on with this fentanyl. A lot of drugs people are taking, whether they're smoking something or a pill, because now, from what I understand, these drug dealers, they have the ability to press drugs. So it sounds like maybe they're shaken down or whatever, and they're pressed into a whole different pill. So when I say that they're pressed, they're mixed with something other than. So I don't know, maybe you're taking, and then forgive me, I don't know, a Percocet or Molly. You might not be knowing that it's laced with fentanyl. So a lot of times people are experiencing overdoses to the tune of death. And so I say all that to say, why are we trusting Ray Ray and Pookie's drug operation in the basement and putting that in our bodies? Most people would not put just anything in their car. Most people would not allow people just to put anything on their plate. So how is it that, and listen, I also want to say this is not an indictment of the dead. I want to say that I'm not judging Lola. I want to call her by her government name. I'm not judging Lola or anybody else that has passed away due to an overdose. But I am asking I think, which is a fair question, why are we as a society trusting just any old body to give us a pill or drugs that they have mixed up in their basement or in their garage, and trust that? Then I get it. There's a thing called an addict. So addicts, they probably would be a little bit more trusting, because from what I understand from addicts, that when they heard that somebody overdosed, they want to know, where did they get it from? Because an overdose is considered to be the ultimate high. Like, ooh, that must have been some good stuff. Even though they know that their friend or whoever had passed away or overdosed from that, they want to know, where did they get it? Because that's considered the ultimate high. So I guess I can get why an addict would. Maybe Lola was an addict, but I think that's the question that really needs to be pondered. Am I really, really wanting to risk putting something that is not done in a lab, and even some of the stuff done in a lab, you might not want to be trusting? Because if you follow Dr. Wesley Muhammad, he talks about how the government has been able to fashion marijuana to specifically target the growth and the biological makeup of Black boys, to where he believes, which is why a lot of Black boys are now effeminate. And so I think that's the question we need to ask. Why are we so trusting of putting, something that can alter us permanently into the tune of death into our bodies?
Yeah, on my Facebook page, I put up a flight attendant who was caught with a bag of fentanyl from wherever she was coming in, and she went through customs, and they caught her. Now, what does this say about our wages, and our fair, pay? I don't know, if she was just getting greedy because there's so much money to be made, but look how many icons we lost. Prince died of a fentanyl overdose. I mean, and, I think he had a will. I think they found the will or something, or maybe he did. I don't know. But still, it's stuff like this. You're going to take this risk, right? And let's say you don't have a will. Your estate goes up into probate. You might have kids that need to be paid. All kinds of crap is going to happen. But we're willing to take these risks that will take us off of this planet. And it's just a sad thing. But to me, it's like, okay, you disarm the citizenry by keeping them high. Because when you're high, you're really, and I don't use drugs either. I've never used any unprescribed drugs by a doctor. But, I've got people I know and friends that I know. And some people, drugs affect you differently. But to me, like marijuana, it isn't like it. In the people that I've experienced, I've never seen somebody smoke some marijuana and they're giddy and they're high and they want to just go do crazy stuff. I've never seen that. Now, I've seen the laced ones that do that. And I'm just thinking, this thing is propagandized and sold to our community as if it doesn't do any harm. And yet it does. Look at how many professional athletes get their contracts voided because they got weed or, that, in their systems. Major contracts, just money that's going. And it just seems to me it's targeted to our community like it's no big deal. It's in the rap lyrics, it's in the movies, like, oh, it's no big deal. But I kind of look at, like, let's say the country and Western music. You don't see that kind of stuff in their videos. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, because the entertainment industry is an industry with itself. The entertainment industry does not discriminate in regards to entertaining. All these people are considered entertainers. So, but I just look at how things are marketed toward us. And it's like, we're just digging a hole, digging deeper and deeper and deeper. And we're losing icons and people that could be doing great things. And then we see the harm that happens within our community. And then by the time we really get out of this, you guys, it's really going to be too late, because I'm a firm believer, and Demetra knows this, the war on drugs was intentionally put into our community to keep us at bay. Ever since the government has even admitted this stuff, and we're still doing it. That's, to me, insane.
Yes, very true. And also, I wanted to touch on 2 points that you said earlier as well. You said you being a pilot, would anybody want you to be high or, smoking weed as a pilot? Obviously, that is a resounding no, I would imagine. So I guess you can't really compare you being a pilot to everyday person that's not a pilot smoking weed, because we know in a lot of states, marijuana is legal. Now, a lot of times, I don't know a number, percentage, but do know that marijuana is actually prescribed by doctors in a lot of cases. And we know probably predominantly it is smoked on a recreational basis. So it is legal. So yes, I would not want a pilot or anybody, a surgeon or anybody, to be under the influence. And I don't think anybody should be under the influence when they're driving or doing something that is critical to their life or somebody else's life. So yeah, I think that's kind of like an apples and oranges comparison. Also, along with this drug culture that is being, I guess, made legal by the government, it's only marijuana, from what I understand. Nothing else is actually acceptable by the government as far as legal. Of course, we know now that white people are predominantly dying from these opioid addictions and things like that. And I guess maybe fentanyl would count as that. Don't quote me on that. There's this major push to try to get people in rehab and things like that. Although we know with the crime bill that was made by that of Joe Biden, Black people did not get rehab. We got prison sentences, and there's still some in prison under the 3 strikes law and the cocaine and crack differences, things like that. So yeah, only marijuana in certain states have be made legal. But I would just say this again, I'm never coming off in judgment, but I just think, and I've never had an addiction, a drug addiction or anything like that, so I can't speak as to what drives a person. But I would imagine having any addiction, that addiction, it's an addiction because it's stronger than your will at that point. And so I would imagine that's why people do it, to the tune of risking their lives. But I would just say, for anybody, especially if you really desire to kick the habit, I know people who were on drugs and they did it cold turkey. One of the people that I read their autobiographies was that of Smokey Robinson. He had a big time cocaine addiction to where he stopped cold turkey. He just said he had an epiphany one day and was like, wow, I've lost everything and it's costing me everything. And he just stopped, and he has not looked back since. And into his 80s, Smokey Robinson is still here. And so it can be done. But if it cannot be done cold turkey, seek help, treatment or whatever you need, because there's nothing. It's just, a one hit and that could be it. And that's just, really the truth. So, just be careful out there. My prayers to anybody who is struggling with addiction. I know that it cannot be easy. So my prayers to anybody out there to find the strength to just to kick the habit, as they would say. So, yeah.
Well, how about this? Don't even start the habit. There's so many examples of these drugs tearing up families and communities and stuff. That's why some of my friends that came up from broken homes and stuff because of drugs in general. I'm not saying it's a thing. I'm just saying I just don't understand if that is why a certain person is upset that their family wasn't together, or the dad was out of the home, or the mom is addicted or doing something, why would, maybe it's genetic, because I'm not a doctor. Maybe it is a genetic thing that's in you, that, that you're more susceptible to, becoming addicted to a certain drug or cigarettes or something like that. But, my thing is, why even go in that route if it was such a devastating thing to you growing up, seeing that, because when I see my friends or my relatives that aren't here because of drugs, it just makes me wonder, like, damn, it's just tragic. So my advice to people, don't even start, just don't even start with that. There's no story I have ever read or saw where doing that, there was a happy ending. I just don't get it.
And I totally agree. Do not start doing drugs. But I will say this, because I have done a little bit of research, and I do know people personally that started doing drugs. And I would say most of the people, it was a shock to hear that they had started doing drugs and were considered a drug addict, for a lack of better words. But I would say, and a lot of those people that I talked to, it was a perfect storm, if you will. Now, when I say it's perfect storm, they were going through something that would be considered traumatic, right? Maybe a loss of a parent, and then maybe they were around someone and somebody was like, here, this will help you ease your pain. And as they say, a lot of times with certain drugs, all it takes is one hit and you're hooked. So I would say a lot of times people do those things because it's a coping mechanism. I'm in so much pain due to whatever I'm experiencing, and I need a release or relief rather. So a lot of times, even with alcoholics, they'll do that to temporarily suspend what is bothering them. So a lot of times people got on the drugs because a lot of two people were curious. It's like, what is it like to be, to do crack or cocaine or heroin or whatever. And that's probably how they got hooked. But a lot of people are like, okay, yeah, I'll try anything to escape the pain that I'm in. So there are a lot of reasons why people do it. But yeah, I totally agree. Do not, if you can, please avoid getting caught up in that, because it's devastating. Devastating, not just to the drug user, but to the families. And let's keep it real, especially with the crack epidemic, it dilapidated whole generations, and there's still lasting effects. Now, I also want to dispel this myth too. There's this thing about crack babies. Well, crack baby is kind of a myth, in that cocaine does not really stay in the system, if you will. Now, there are obviously have been babies that have been born addicted to crack because their moms were crack addicts, if you will. But the research that I've done, it says that babies having effects. Now, I want to say research because depending on who's done the research, because we know predominantly Black people suffered with the crack epidemic. So it could be the medical researchers, if you will, saying, there wasn't really a lasting effect because maybe they want to minimize what they did to babies. But then there's been some research says that that the label crack baby actually is to stigmatize that of Black babies and children. Because a lot of times when children go to school and the system maybe finds out that their mom was addicted to crack at one point in time, and they were born addicted to crack, they'll use that as a reason to not fully educate them. Well, they were addicted to crack, or they were crack babies. So this is why they behave that way. And a lot of times it becomes so they can get benefits and things like that. So that's why I'm saying we should be careful of using the term crack baby, because there's a lot of discussion as to whether that's even really a thing, and that it has these effects on people as an adult and things like that. So anyway, the last thing that we are going to talk about is someone, as far as, because Donovan and I on Tuesday like to talk about some relationship things. They want to know if you can be friends with the opposite sex, and should your significant other be bothered by that?
Okay, is that the question, huh?
That's the question.
Absolutely, you can be friends with the opposite sex. And your significant other should not be bothered by it if you include that significant other in that friendship circle and whatever the thing is. Now, just because you introduce your significant other to your lady friend, let's say in my example, it would be a lady friend, doesn't mean they're going to be buddy and best buddies and stuff like that. But the point of the matter is your significant other can't pick your friends for you. And if that person is a friend, and I don't do this, but a lot of people do. If that friend of yours and you have relations, you need to disclose that to your significant other so they have all of the information, because that friend could be a threat. On Peacock, I think it was the Best Man series that's on Peacock right now.
I haven't seen it yet, so don't tell me.
No, I'm not going to tell you,
watched it yet.
but watch that series, and you're going to see the problems of relationships when you don't disclose all the information, because that outside person is a threat to your relationship. So if you can't bring that person in on that circle and they got all of the information, do not make a decision for your significant other. Oh, that's my friend. You got to, it's not going to work. If they get along, they're going to get along. But if she got all the information and she accepts the fact that you used to date this woman or whatever, I'm very sure they're going to have a conversation and put up some barriers and all that other stuff. But yes, men and women can be friends if it's a platonic situation, and that's the way it should be. I treat Demetra no different than I would treat a dude. Simple as that. Simple as that.
Yeah, so I'm going to agree with you. I think that men and women can be friends. So people of the opposite sex, even if you're involved with somebody, I believe that you can be friends. Donovan and I are a perfect example of that, of being strictly friends. Of course, there's never been anything else other than that with Donovan and I. I also have a very good friend by the name of Ed. I've known him almost as long not quite as, but long as I've known Donovan, and there's never been anything involved with us. I will give an example. This is years ago, when I had a boyfriend and he felt threatened by Ed. He felt very threatened. Oh, I don't want you to be friends with him anymore. So me being young, I was very young at the time, in my 20s still. I was like, well, okay. So Ed and I did not speak for a year. And then toward the end of that relationship, I was like, hey, you know what? I mean, we went and worked together, but as far as calling and stuff, we didn't do that type of stuff. But so when I broke up with that boyfriend, I was like, you know what? I done, stop relationships with my good friend who's been there for me through thick and thin. I mean, that Ed is my, is my guy. Like Donovan is my guy. And like Donovan said, I mean, shoot, we it is like one of the guys, and you can see I'm very womanly, but you know what I mean? So I get where Donovan's saying, because it's not like that. But also, I learned a very valuable lesson in what happened with Ed and I, is that, listen, friends are forever. Y'all see Donovan got me speaking proper, because I want to say me and Donovan. Me and Donovan, we argue like cats and dogs and everything else in between. But Donovan will tell you, it's gonna be on and cracking if you disrespect my friend. He'll tell you you can't disrespect Donovan, and especially if I'm around. So that's just really how it is, right? But friends are forever. Friends are forever. Men and women, they come and go. And I will say this just out of experience: if a man or a woman that you are dating or you're starting to date says, well, I don't like your new friend, you can't hang around them, then you'd be like, you know what? That's kind of the bird in a different way. You flip them the bird and say, for one thing, I'm scared of you because you're controlling. You don't know me that well. And if I'm not doing anything disrespectful, and disrespectful can be in the eye of the beholder, but if I'm not doing anything blatantly disrespectful, like, oh, you gotta, and all of that, then you can't be a Johnny come now into my life and dictate what I do with my friends that I have been friends with 20, 30 years. Well, you cannot do that. And if you are somebody that imposes those type of things on your new relationship, you need to ask yourself, why are you so insecure? Because if they really wanted to do something, and ask yourself this, why has the vacancy been there for you to come in if they were going to do something? Like, if they were going to do something, they would probably have done it already. And if they still wanted to do something, you cannot control that. Now, I will say this. Definitely, Donovan, if you have been intimate with this friend, your new significant other should know. It should not be something that is kept from them. They should at least know, you know what? I used to be engaged to this person. We ran around in the bed for a couple of times, yes, but we are just friends. And then if that poses a threat or that significant other is bothered, you being the person that has slept with the friend and is potentially going to sleep with the new person, you need to ask yourself, all right, is the new significant other more important, or is my old friend, significant other more important? Now, in that case, I would say you would need to make a decision, because I don't care what you say, you're not going to get somebody to believe that, oh, nothing's going to happen, which nothing probably will happen again with you and that ex. But why would you want that to be a point of contention continuously in your relationship? Well, y'all went to the movies. Did y'all really just go to the movies? Because I know that y'all, well, if why ain't y'all together now? Y'all slept together. And why would you want to even have that as a point of argument all the time? You know what I mean? So go ahead.
Well, it's a good thing you bring that up. See, okay, I'm gonna give you ladies that are listening the game real quick. And this is what slick Negroes, we call them nickel slick niggas, do. Okay. Notice when you have a really good friend, or even your family members, certain people that are nickel slick, male or female, they want to isolate you from those people that might see stuff that you don't see. And I'll give you a good example, a real life experience. And I say it on the show all the time. I was dating this beautiful girl, everything I wanted, everything. And I could not see what Demetra saw that told me, hey, she figures she doesn't have to do this because she is doing this, this, and this. And as a man, of course, I'm not going to pick that up because I'm getting finessed, sexually finessed. So I'm like, hey, this is great. And it took my friend to tell me, hey, I think you need to know this. I'm not telling you what to do. And then from that, I made a serious decision because, like I said, how do you have a friend for over 30 years and then you meet somebody that you've known for 2 years? How is that even a decision you have to make unless that 30-year friend did something so egregious that you're like, you know what, I'm done with you. I'm done with you. You know what I mean? But again, nickel slick people, they want to keep you from your real friends that are probably going to show you and teach you and things that you cannot see. And that's when you know you got a real friend, because your real friend doesn't want to see you get hurt. Your real friend doesn't want to see you get finessed. They want to see you happy. A real friend wants to see you happy. But at the same time, they're going to give you the information you might not know. And that's a true story, because sometimes I sit and I say, damn, Demetra, why did you have to tell me the information?
Well, I will say this in regards to Donovan's friend. I don't want nobody to say, oh, Demetra was blocking or I was hating. I was rooting for Donovan because, listen, I know Donovan can be hard on the ladies. And when I saw he had a woman, I was like, okay, this gonna work. And so I was, at the time, and the reason why I even, met her and knew a lot about her, because Donovan and I were recording in his studio. So I would go over there. And, my daughter had the very unfortunate experience of seeing his lady friend walk through the house butt naked, because she didn't know my daughter was sitting on the couch. And she was like, oh,
well,
hey.
You guys showed up early that day.
Right. So it wasn't that I was hating. It's just that Donovan, I know Donovan. And so it was when it, like any relationship, we get in a relationship, it's like, yeah, it's good. It's good. He floating over there, all that. But then it was like, I'm doing all right, literally this dude, when he would come out of the house, or I would get with him in the garage and we're getting ready to do the studio, he would just like veins popping out. And you're like, I'm like, okay, let's have a talk. Let's have a talk. I said, Donovan, because you were stressed out, dude. Like, he was stressed.
He wouldn't go home.
He was so stressed out. I said, Donovan, if she's causing you this much stress, is it worth it? Now, I know she's built like a Coke bottle. She's beautiful. She's probably, having your toes all, I know, all of that. But is it worth it? I'm like, you do. You are. It's just like, it was bad, And there were certain things he would tell me about her. I'm like, okay, Donovan, is this really the caliber of woman you want to keep company with? And it wasn't that Donovan wasn't trying to spend money on her, because I would tell you right now, Donovan's the type of person like, if you my woman, I'm spending time with you, then I'm gonna make sure you know you got what you need, type of thing. But the problem with her, from what, because I never really had a conversation with her like that. The problem with her was that she did not want to acquiesce to the advice Donovan gave her. However, she wanted him to spend all this money on nails, which he did get her nails done a few times. You know, Donovan, don't believe the hype about Donovan. He'll do it, you know, because he was getting some. But when it came to certain things about her life, like she was a professional, but her license was getting ready to expire if it wasn't already expired. So he was like, okay, here type of thing. I'll help you.
The car wasn't registered. I'm just like.
So, and she was a professional to where she was making good money. Her living situation was just jacked up for a grown woman. And so I said, nah, I know she got a big old booty, which is how I came up with the term, what's behind the booty? I know she got a big old booty, but dude, what you telling me? I don't see her being Mrs. Saadiq. And the last straw was they, you know, it was a Sunday morning and they was booed up, but you know, as most people do, they didn't have nothing in the refrigerator. So she says, well, I'm going to make breakfast. Donovan says, well, and I wasn't there, but I'm, you know, putting away. I'll go to the store. And Donovan, being a gentleman, he says, here, baby, take my card. She goes to the store and he's thinking she's going to get some eggs, some sausage, some biscuits, whatever. She comes back with like $150 worth of, well, I saw the results and she wasn't a good stewardess over the money. And so they had a heated discussion. And in all fairness, I think Donovan was right to ask her, all right, baby, you went to, and listen, money ain't no object with Donovan. So it wasn't about the money. It was about, you went and bought some carrot juice that neither one of us are going to drink. It just like stuff that didn't make any sense, right? And the other issue was, which he was right, well, if you were going to deviate from breakfast, why didn't you just send me a call? Hey, baby, I see your refrigerator is empty. Do you mind if I get a couple of other things to kind of fill it up? I don't think Donovan would have told her no, but it was the disrespecting that you didn't even think I was worthy of a phone call, because for one thing, you don't know how much money I had on that card. Maybe I just had bacon and egg money. Maybe I didn't have Whole Foods going up and buying 3 things, you know, money on the card. So that was, Donovan and I talked about it because she got mad and left the doggone carrot juice on top of his card, you know, all of that. And I was like, okay, Donovan, well, I think you getting all the signs you need. Listen, the booty, I'm sure it's top notch, but is it worth it? And the answer was no. And they're no longer together. But trust me, I wanted them to make it. I did. I wanted to be able to I want to be able to, I think I'm young enough to be a flower girl. Throw some flowers down the aisle, you know, but at the rate they was going, they was gonna say, does anybody object? I was gonna be like, hell to the yeah. Hell to the yeah, I object. Because for one thing, he ain't gonna be on my goddamn nerves talking about this woman every time we get in the studio. But to his point, you know, and there's things Donovan has told me, like, why? Why are you with him? You know what I mean? Type of things, because your friends are going to see the things you don't see, especially when you floating on cloud 9.
So yes, the answer is men and women can be friends if that's really what it is. Really what it is. And I, you know, and not tooting my own horn, I still have a majority of my friends that I met in high school that are still friends with me to this very day. Now, the girls I messed with, I keep my distance. We're friends, but I keep my distance out of respect for her marriage and relationships and things of that nature. If she wants to call me, she would have to call me. I'm not going to call into her home out of respect.
And you make a very good point in that if you are the friend or the ex and you know they have a significant other, take your black ass somewhere else. Stop trying to be all relevant in somebody else's life. You know they have a relationship. Be respectful of that relationship. You are no longer important in that relationship when they have somebody else. Don't try to make them feel bad. Well, we've been friends for hours time, and here come you get a new man, and all of a sudden you respect that, and just know that if you were friends for many years ago, if that relationship does not work out, you're gonna be friends again. But because I hear people say that and they legitimately get mad. Well, now they got a new girlfriend, and now they don't call me no more, and they not supposed to.
I get kicked to the curb every time she get a dude or whatever. Yeah,
you supposed to get kicked to the curb because you're not. At least I don't think you are now rendering the same services that new boo is. So you supposed to be kicked to the curb. But the other thing too is, I get it. We got best friends. You ain't supposed to be entwined into everything you do. I'm gonna do with you, and if we can't do it together, then go do your business. And perhaps you should have a boo thing. You shouldn't be so tied up into what your friend is doing to the point to where they can't have a relationship, because oftentimes that ruins people's relationships because of the friend, the meddling friend, the whiny friend, the needy friend. Like, go somewhere, go sit down, okay? Go do something until further notice. So, and that's all times how you hear the significant other like, nope, I don't like your friend. I don't like your friend. No, I don't want to be around your friend. Do not invite your friend over, because the friend ain't gonna come and sit their ass down. The friend gonna come and be planting bugs and just doing the most. So if you're that friend, don't be that friend. So anyway, y'all, we love and appreciate y'all for the and this is the first show, I guess, of the podcast of 2023. Welcome back. Hope you guys had a great last year, and I hope you guys are looking forward for a great new year. You're gonna, maybe do something different or better. I don't know. Maybe you feel like you got it all together, and you know what? That's good too. But again, I'm going to be putting out a suggestion poll for this show, the things that you guys want to see more of or something different or less of. I'm open to it all. Of course, we have ways to donate to the channel to help the channel going. Every little bit helps. We appreciate that. And so I want to say thank you to the channel members and everybody who likes, subscribes, and everything to this channel. You rock. Tomorrow we're going to be back with Wealth Wednesdays with Walter. He has some exciting things that he wants to talk about for the new year. So buckle your seatbelts for that. Thank you, Donovan, so much for being here. We will see you all tomorrow. And of course, we'll be back on Sunday. Look for my videos in between on my channel and the African Diaspora News channel. Mwah. Peace.